morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Diko Jibril. My family were among the lucky Somalis that escaped the war in Somalia. I came to Roxbury in 1991. I was 12 years old. I grew up in Roxbury. Today, I am a community organizer, single mother of 4 children. I created 6 local businesses across the street. It's called the African Mall. Prior to that, I worked at ABCD Housing Department as a housing specialist, helping family in the district find affordable housing. And after that, I went on Children's Services of Roxbury. It's also in the district. And what I did was a stabilization worker, helping family who are already placed in the district sustain their apartment. A lot of the clients I was working with were the first-time apartment rentals that did not know how to sustain. I was doing budget with them. I was helping them connect with services that they need. And at that time, I was going through, domestic violence, and I didn't know what domestic violence was because I got married at early age, right after high school, and being the stabilization worker, I realized that, wait a minute, I'm not different from some of my clients who I'm there to serve. I'm going through the same abuses at home. So I took a bold step. I said, enough is enough. We grew apart. He wanted a woman who stays home, more traditional Somali woman. I had too much potential. And I went through every mosque. And they said, no. Man can only divorce. And I said, I understand, but as a young Somali woman, I'm trying to work it out. It's not me, it takes 2. Am I not right? And they said, well, he's not cooperating, there's nothing we can do. So one of the imam at local mosque said, why don't you go to the court system? I have never went to the court system. I was very intimidated, although I was a case manager helping family who have been traumatized, but going into Roxbury court was very traumatized, getting restraining order for the first time, not knowing what to expect. And from there, that experience taught me resilience. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not alone. It doesn't only happen to the, hush-hush Muslim immigrant community, it's happening throughout the district. And it kept me some nights up saying, wait a minute, I was alone. I didn't have a friend I could lead to. I didn't know my rights. And I went through this, hoping that my mosque and the institutions that I'm familiar can assist me. And there was no assistance. I said, if I went through this, I don't want the next woman to go through this, whether she's an immigrant or resident, Bostonian. So I created a focus group for just women. I said, us women, let's come together and talk about what is matter to us. Do we need childcare? Let's learn what's not abuse. And from there, it inspired me to be the organizer I am today. If I did not find my voice, I wouldn't be the woman I am. So from the focus group, it was born Somali Community and Cultural Associations, organization that help immigrants navigate the court system, whether it's a domestic violence, helping get assistance from the government, learning the language, just navigating this mainstream culture. And from there, I realized that, yes, I was doing woman empowerment, but we are losing some of our students and youth on the street. They struggling with substance abuse. Our community, we come here from far away place. We have to adjust environmentally and just the whole thing. Sometimes we tend to stay in our own corner, but what affects your neighbor affects you. So our youth are struggling with substance abuse. They were getting profiled with Boston police. After the Boston bombing, I experienced a hate crime in the streets of Roxbury. My kids and I were called terrorists. They were born at Brigham women. They are the first generation of Somali Americans. They don't know anything about being Somali or being more traditional Muslim. And I took a bold step. I said, wait a minute, coming from a country where there's no democracy, learning your rights in this country and reaching out to the police and not them responding right away, why can you not reach out to the commissioner? So I reached out to the commissioner and I explained to him that, one, I'm a community organizer. I'm very active in the district. I reached out to the police and they didn't come right away. I live in Academy Homes. I called my security. They didn't come right away. You guys don't come to low-income communities? Do you just not respond? So from there, we had dialogues, and he said, how can we better work together? And I said, I am a coalition builder. The community is scared of the law enforcement. Let's come together and talk about our fears. If we don't create that dialogue, we will will be separated as a community. And we always preach that Boston is one. Let's create that one. You know, where I was born, it says it takes a village. Let's make Boston that village. So he agreed to it. And what I liked is he was listening to our concerns. I brought a group of immigrant parents who are very scared by the law enforcement. So we created the first Muslim youth police dialogue in the city of Boston. 3 years later, it's being modeled in Minneapolis, Columbus, and Boise. And because of that incident I had, I was able to turn a bad experience to a good, positive experience, building trust between the law enforcement and the immigrant community. As a result, I diversified. I said, look, how come, this department does not have enough of us that look like, how are you guys gonna, represent us if you don't understand our language, if we don't see somebody that looks like us? So I pushed the diversity within the department, and I did that by making relationships. As a community organizer, one thing I learned in the streets of Boston is you have to build trust. Without trust, nothing will come together. Not too long ago, I was endorsed across the street by Unite Here, Local 26. And when I was giving my speech, I was very emotional. I couldn't even talk. Why? Years ago, I walked in that welfare office, escaping from abusive marriage, trying to feed my family. And in the same building, I'm being endorsed as a city councilor. I have come a long way, and I will continue to fight for this district. This district needs someone who is a fighter. Public safety is a key priority of mine. It's one of my platform. Not only do I leave Academy home and I'm raising 4 black children, but I also survived a civil war. I have seen some of my family get killed in front of me. I lived in refugee camp where, public safety is not a priority. There's no safety. You have to worry about starvation. You have to worry about diseases. You have to worry about women getting raped. There's no protection. So public safety is a key priority. That's why I made inroads in Boston Police, and I'm going to continue to do that as your city councilor. The other thing, housing. I worked at ABCD Housing over a decade and Children's Services of Roxbury. I know what's like to be misplaced. I was misplaced from my country to refugee camp to come into Boston, facing housing. I live in Academy Homes. It's affordable. I pay market rent, but that's the only place I can pay market rent in the district. It shouldn't be that way. What if developer comes in and takes Academy Homes? Where would I be? I'm gonna be square one, displaced again. And as your city councilor, that issue is very personal to me, and I will fight to continue. When I door knocked the other day, I ran to some of my former clients who I helped them get a voucher. And their concern was like, we cannot live in the district anymore. And I said, why? This is family who have been in shelter for years. They cannot keep their subsidy in the district. Why? Because landlord wants students. Landlord is pushing families away. Why rent it from a voucher when you can get market rent? Each students pay $1,500 per room. So that's the issue we are facing in this district that nobody talks about it. My other platform is inclusive schools. Coming, from Somalia, not knowing a word of English, coming to Boston, attending English high school. Today, my children are going to public school. We need to better our public education. We need to provide more trauma support. I was a former refugee. I have been traumatized. When I came to the city, I was 12 years old. They said, you gotta go to 8th grade. I did Washington Irving for 6 months. Then based on your age, if you're 15, they'll say, oh, you belong to 10th grade, without assessing your needs. They are immigrant students who come here from war-torn country. No one is assessing them. They missed the formal education. You want them to keep up with regular curriculum. They can't. There are students here who were born and raised in Boston who did not, have quality education at kindergarten, and you expect them to be in that environment. They can't, because they don't belong there. And if they don't belong there, where did they go? They end up on the street. So we need to create a better quality education by providing after-school programs for our youth. Today, the English language learners in Boston is 31%. We're not giving them support. And if we don't, they're gonna end up on the streets. It takes a village. They are our problem. Public schools don't have teachers that look like us. Teachers that understand are culturally competent. They don't know how to teach us. So we need to provide trainings that will advance them to teach kids that don't look like them, kids that don't have their same background. My other platform is economic justice. Being an immigrant, coming here with my mom at the age of 12, not having a suitcase, struggling between jobs, creating a business was an easy task for me. I ask you, if you guys have a time, please visit the African Mall. 10 years ago, across the street, that building was abandoned. People used to get high. I brought a value. I went to the owner and I said, look, I have this vision. If you let me rent your property, I am going to, start a business. And he said, where are you gonna, how are you gonna do that? And I show him my plan. I said, look, 3,000 square feet is a lot. I wanna share. What am I going to do with 3,000 square feet? Allow me to make, divide it into 6 stores and then rent it out. And that's what I did. When I was rented out and I was looking for tenant, I make sure that the tenant are from Roxbury. So people who are not in the district don't have to come here because the rent is cheap. I make sure that people who are here and they call this community get a chance to open their own businesses. As your city council, I will fight, help small businesses. The business I created 10 years ago are facing gentrifications. When people hear the word gentrification, what do they think of? Housing. But small businesses in our district are struggling. They're being pushed away because they can't keep up with the rent. As your city council, I will, fight for that. I was always a fighter, whether it was, living from my war-torn country, whether it's living from abusive marriage. I always give back, and I want you to know that I get things done. And as your city council, not only would I listen to you, I will get things done.